We question pretty profoundly any model that would try to move investor protection functions out of the Securities and Exchange Commission for several reasons, one of which is that it's not a separate thing that's done here by a discrete group of people. Investor protection is woven through everything that happens in this organization.
All right, that was Mary Shapiro, the new SEC chair. The question is the SEC on borrowed time? We welcome Stanley Sporkin, former director of enforcement for the SEC, among his many meritorious service jobs. Mr. Sporkin, thank you ever so much. We also have CNBC contributor Robert McTeer. Bob is the former Dallas Federal Reserve Bank president. Mr. Sporkin, the knives look to be out. The knives are out for the SEC, and some of those knives, I think, are coming from the Treasury and the White House for a big regulatory rollback of the SEC. What's your thoughts, sir?
I would think that that would be a terrible, terrible idea. The SEC is one of the finest agencies that have ever been created. It is a model agency. It is responsible for so many things that you can, in corporate governance, that's never been matched. For example, the entire compliance system that now operates throughout every sector of this economy was created by the SEC. The SEC sowed the seeds for that operation by its gatekeeper theory that was established during the years that Herb Pollack and I were at the SEC. And they have so many accomplishments, so many. The Foreign Corrupt Practices Act came out of the SEC. It was such a model that when I was there, other agencies would call on this. I remember when Chairman Perchuk of the FTC and Robert Reich, who was his general counsel, called on me and said, how come you people can get everything done and we can't get anything done? And I said the reason for it is that you're out there and you tip off your hand what you're doing. You're saying, well, you're going to go out and regulate the undertaking industry.
All right, let me bring in Bob McTeer. All right, Bob McTeer, you heard Mr. Sporkin, and we know there are some many fine people that worked at the SEC, including, I might add, one of my heroes, Bill Casey, who was Mr. Sporkin's director or chairman, and later went on to run the CIA with Mr. Sporkin's help. But Bob McTeer, the Madoff case was blown and missed by the SEC. It's a tremendous stain, and it's not the only case that was missed. What's your take on rolling back that agency?
Well, not only the Madoff case, but all last year and a half in the financial crisis, they never showed up. They should have been putting pressure on FASB, on mark-to-market. They never did. Congress had to intervene on that. They needed to have done something about the uptick rule. The new head of the SEC waited until April to make a couple of suggestions and then gave a 10-week comment period. They do not act like we're in a national emergency in this financial crisis. They have not done anything that I know of to help us out during this last year and a half to 2 years.
Mr. Sporkin, the Madoff thing is a big stain. The FASB issues, the mark-to-market issue is a stain. Many people believe the uptick rule is a gigantic mistake. Christopher Cox was not the greatest chairman in the world. There's another recent story I want to bring to your attention. I'm sure you're aware of it. Something with the assistant secretary of the board called her mother's stockbroker to protest about certain transactions, which, if not illegal, was certainly unethical. How do you react to these things?
Yeah, that's like spitting in the... I mean, the Madoff is a big matter, I agree. But there's other stuff, it's like... It's nothing. It is absolutely... Look, the SEC has been attacked time and time again because it's too effective. Wasn't it a year ago when everybody was saying there's too much regulation? We need some more of this bank regulation that Mr. McTeer is telling us is so great. Tell me a case that the bank regulators have ever brought.
Well, where were the SEC?
You're talking about the banks they were asleep.
But Bob McTeer, the SEC was asleep at the switch, too. And I suspect, Bob, you tell me, you know more about this than I do as a former regulator, they're going to lose their power over bank holding companies, aren't they? That's going to be one of the big issues here, Bob McTeer.
You mean the Fed is going to lose its power?
No, I think the SEC is going to lose its power over publicly owned bank holding companies.
Well, I don't know about that, but I think to call these things that I mentioned a while ago minor things, you know, if the mark-to-market thing had been taken care of a year earlier, we wouldn't be trillions of dollars in debt now and have lost billions of dollars of bank capital. They're not minor at all.
Well, you know what that mark-to-market reminds me of? The fellow that goes in and asks for needs an operation, and they tell him that it's going to cost $100,000, and he says, "Well, I can't afford it. How much will it cost to touch up the X-rays?" That's what you're doing when you're saying you don't want real value there. I don't think that that's such an open and shut issue.
But Mr. Sporkin, look, a lot of people think mark-to-market was extremely serious. I want to ask you about Madoff. The Madoff stain is just incredible. The SEC was in there several times and missed it. And I don't know how that agency ever lives that down.
Well, you know, those things, we don't know what the facts are. And I, as much as anyone, want to know what the facts are. That's an unfortunate situation. It shouldn't have happened, but we got to find out. But there are a lot of things that happened. Look at all the banks that went under. Where are the banking regulators?
Well, Bob McTeer does have a point there. But, Bob, how do you think this story is going to end? What's your guess?
Well, I think they'll have a hard time stripping the SEC of its main functions. I think the main thing is they won't get new ones, and they'll be trimmed around the edges.
All right. Stanley Sporkin, Robert McTeer, thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate it.